Welcome to this Sunday morning Sutta study with Dhammadharini. We're trying something new this time, which will be having Ayya, Suvijjana, and myself sharing the conversation about today's sutta. At the beginning of a long retreat, it can often happen that there's a certain amount of residual negativity or agitation or worry or remorse or different kinds of negativities in the mind. And it can be discovered during the retreat how those negative states will not allow a person to fully settle. And so then it seemed to me that it will be good for us, and it may also be interesting to others to look at some of the suttas that talk about some of the, well, they talk more about meditation, really. So today's sutta is called the Upakkilesa Sutta, sometimes called the Anuruddha Sutta. It's number 128 in the middle length discourses. This sutta, it's almost like three suttas wrapped in one. First, it has the story about the Buddha's encounter with the quarrelsome monks at Kosambi, which is a story that's treated not only in this sutta, but it's also treated in the Vinaya. There's a Kosambya Sutta in the middle length discourses. And then the later part of the sutta is speaking about the Buddha's visit to the 5 harmonious monks. And there are several, three harmonious monks. And then, so there are quite a few parallels to this. The Jataka stories related to the verses in the Dhammapada, and then those verses appear in the verse in the Sutta Nipata about the rhinoceros horn, about going alone like the rhinoceros in the forest. And there's another verse in the Udana. So this is a very famous, must have been a very pivotal and important story for the early Sangha to have been treated in so many different places. So I'll just go right ahead and start reading.
But did you want me to read from the...
Yes, if you could, that would be good. You'll read from Bhikkhu Bodhis.
Should we do both? We've got suggestions and...
If you read Bhikkhu Bodhi, then we could comment on the difference.
Okay, and you have the one on Sutta Central posted?
Sorry? The one that I have posted is, I should share the screen so you can read along with us. Okay, so I'll do that. Sharing the screen. Upakkilesa Sutta. Okay, there it is.
So should I just read to the poem maybe to start with? Okay. This is 128, Upakkilesa Sutta. Bhante Bodhi translates it as imperfections. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Kosambi and Gosika Park. Now, on that occasion, the bhikkhus at Kosambi had taken to quarreling and brawling and were deep in disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. Then a certain bhikkhu went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he stood at one side and said, Venerable Sir, the bhikkhus here at Kosambi have taken to quarreling and brawling and in deep disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. It would be good, Venerable Sir, if the Blessed One would go to those bhikkhus out of compassion. The Blessed One consented in silence. Then the Blessed One went to those bhikkhus and said to them, Enough, bhikkhus, let there be no quarreling, brawling, wrangling, or dispute. When this was said, a certain bhikkhu said to the Blessed One, Wait, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One, the Lord of the Dhamma, live at ease, devoted to a pleasant abiding here and now. We are the ones who will be responsible for this quarreling, brawling, wrangling, and dispute. For a second time, for a third time, the Blessed One said, Enough, bhikkhus, let there be no quarreling, brawling, wrangling, or dispute. For a third time, that bhikkhu said to the Blessed One, Wait, Venerable Sir, and so on. We are the ones who will be responsible for this quarreling, brawling, wrangling, and dispute. Then, when it was morning, the Blessed One dressed and taking his bowl and outer robe, entered Kosambi for alms. When he had wandered for alms in Kosambi and had returned from his alms round after his meal, he set his resting place in order, took his bowl and outer robe, and while standing uttered these stanzas.
Okay, let's pause there.
So did you, there was a note there. I don't know if you want to look at the
Yes,
note
yeah.
too. You have the note?
The quarrel was about a technicality of the Vinaya related to the rule or the korwat at that temple about after using the restroom and washing one's hands, a monk should turn the basin upside down so that it's completely emptied. There was a meditative monk who was not a Vinaya specialist, but a specialist in meditation, who visited that community, and he didn't turn his wash basin upside down. Then he was accused and blamed and criticized. It so happens that that is not exactly a Vinaya rule in the Patimokkha. See, so the meditative monk perhaps had a point. They both had a point, and it escalated to a quarrel. They refused to settle it. As it said there, even the laity were upset. And yeah, you got the footnote?
The opening of the sutta,
Yeah.
the same as that of Vajrayana number 48, the Kosambiya Sutta.
Right.
That's the comment.
Okay. Sorry, I said that before I told the story. On one occasion, there was a young man who was extremely faithful, but he was mentally ill. He walked all the way from Maine to West Virginia, looking for a Buddhist temple that would take him in and allow him to meditate. He was so faithful. But because he was kind of crazy and scary looking, none of the temples would take him in until he got to the Bhavana Society. And then Bhante Rahula let him come in. And we were studying their sutta, and there was the sutta that came up, the monks were misbehaving, and the Buddha scolded the monks for the misbehavior. And this fellow got very distressed. He said, that's not a real sutta. It couldn't possibly be a real sutta because a Buddhist monk would never misbehave like that. He had so much faith. So I kind of think it's worth pondering for a second whether we can have our veneration for the Sangha and still acknowledge the possibility that a group of monastics could fall into a quarrel like that. And I'd be kind of interested in what others have to say about that question.
Can I say something too?
Yes, please.
What strikes me too is that somebody is like concerned and goes to the Lord Buddha and says, "What's going on here? Please, Venerable Sir, come and help us. The bhikkhus are fighting, and they're so entrenched in their argument, they just dismiss the Buddha." Can you imagine? It's just like, oh, don't, yeah, no, it's kind of like, don't worry your little head about this. This is our business or something like that. This is it's just like, so it's just kind of like, we're on the path, but we're not there.
Sometimes these apocryphal stories are remembered in an exaggerated way to make them memorable. It's like the story itself is almost like a dark satire of the negative tendencies which religious professionals can have. It would be like, say, university or academic politics. You could have the great conflict of kings and wars and countries, or the great struggle of survival, or sort of problems of people who are dealing with real things. And then when you come to the level of spiritual community, similar to an academic community, they're arguing about ideas. And it's actually can be more difficult to come to an agreement about an idea than it can be to come to an agreement about money or something real. If it's a real dispute, you can say, well, just split the difference or come to a compromise. But when it comes to ideas, sometimes people do find it difficult to compromise. We heard that after the who is the head of the Jain community?
The Niganta.
After Niganta,
Yeah.
Niganta, after he passed away,
No, what was this? It starts with an N too.
his
Something like Nigara Pita or something like what
he
was
he
his
passed
name?
he passed away in the other community. After he passed away, the community fell into terrible quarrels, and it affected their, the potential survival of that track. And so the Buddha was really deeply concerned about not having. The Buddha wanted the Sangha to be long-lived. And so he had to give teachings that were directed towards harmony and reconciliation in communities. So that's, I think, the point of this. Okay, I'll call on Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. The fetters of sensual desire and anger are not eradicated until one attains non-returner. So it is possible for, monastics who haven't achieved that yet to become angry. And that's why they have to guard their minds. That's part of the reason, but in their interaction with others, and both publicly and privately. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you very much.
Richard, how do you hold your appreciation for the monastic Sangha, even while acknowledging that they may not be perfect or may not all be arahants?
Yeah. It's just a matter of having been not a Buddhist monk, but a Hindu monk, and knowing all the trials and tribulations one might have to go through, maintaining that lifestyle, which I did for several years. I feel a certain empathy, and so I know, the problems that one may encounter. But I feel it's important to generally to give respect to everyone, so that knowing there was a sutta one time, and Ananda was saying something to the Buddha, and the Buddha said, it is simply because of avidya, which most people translate as ignorance. That's why everyone's acting this way. You know what I mean? And I just found that so subtly profound, because it relieves my mind of a lot of need to, think negatively and stuff like that about others, just knowing that it's this causeless, avidya, right? And that's the problem, that we all are facing that same problem, and we all have to try to get out of that problem. But anyways, again, that's just my opinion. So thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Let's continue reading then.
Do you want to continue with
I'll read
the poem?
I'll read the poem. This is
verse.
like a soliloquy. Shall I read? You want to read? Go ahead and read Shikabodi's translation. Go ahead.
Maybe, what's that about?
It's not. It's too difficult with.
Okay, okay, I'll read this then.
Mhm.
Okay. When many voices shout at once, none considers himself a fool. Though the Sangha is being split, no one thinks himself to be at fault. They have forgotten thoughtful speech. They talk obsessed by words alone, uncurb their mouths. They brawl at will. None knows what leads him so to act. He abused me. He struck me. He defeated me. He robbed me. In those who harbor thoughts like these, hatred will never be allayed. For the world, hatred is never allayed by further acts of hate. It is allayed by non-hatred. That is the fixed and ageless law.
I'm going to stop here for a minute and just point out that life is a traumatic experience, and maybe everybody or almost anybody could feel that they've been traumatized at some time by being treated in a way that was unjust or wrong. And so then this is about holding a grudge. And those thoughts about the grudge that one might hold is exactly the kind of thing that could plague the mind and really be a tremendous block to meditation. So one needs to find a way to give up, to get out of the rut of having the mind going round and around saying, they abused me, they hit me, they beat me, they robbed me, and find a way to stop that record from continuously playing in the mind in order for the mind to be able to turn away from hatred and turn towards love and kindness.
Yeah, this one, in this translation by Bhante Bodhi, he didn't repeat the verse with the, because this is he abused me, he struck me, this on this, and Bhante Sujatos, they have that again, as if, and as in the pairs in the Dhammapada verses.
I really love this verse in the Dhammapada because it's sort of the way the verses sounds in Pali. It sounds like someone is saying, yeah, 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 yeah. There's like, kochimang, avadibang, ajimang, aha, afime. It's like they're just going, and then the stopping of it the sort of the rhythm of the verse changes. Ye chitam nipanayanti verante supasammati. And the verse kind of like slows down and becomes soft and gentle when it speaks about the mind coming to peace. Go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is a fixed and ancient law that hatred is allayed by non-hate, and Bhante Sujato says by love. That's the awara. Yeah, nahi warena warani. Yeah. Those others do not recognize that here we should restrain ourselves, but those wise ones who realize this at once end all their enmity. Breakers of bones and murderers, those who steal cattle, horses, and wealth, those who pillage the entire realm. When even those can act together, why can you not do so too? So the band of thieves can work as a team. If one can find a worthy friend, a virtuous, steadfast companion, then overcome all threats of danger and walk with him contented and mindful. But if one finds no worthy friend, no virtuous, steadfast companion, then as a king leaves his conquered realm, walk like a tusker, alone in the woods. Better to walk alone. There is no companionship with fools. Walk alone and do no evil, at ease like a tusker in the woods.
And this is just what the Buddha is going, rather than continue to be there in that community, which was so disrespectful. He's about to depart and go into the forest. In the other story, he went and spent a vasa in the forest, being attended to by an elephant and a monkey who brought him the daily alms food. And meanwhile, the laity was so disappointed with that community of bhikkhus, they decided to not give them any alms food. So the bhikkhus almost starved to death. And finally, they came to their senses because of that pressure. I just want to say this verse up here, others don't understand that here we need to be restrained. There's a completely different translation for that line. And the alternative translation is, others don't understand that we are on the verge, that here we are on the verge of death. Those who understand this, being wise, settle their conflicts. So the word yamamase is sometimes translated as being knowing, recognizing death. And elsewhere, it's translated as being the connection of restraint. This is the beautiful ambiguity or the double meaning that can exist in the Pali verses, that something has both meanings. I'll call on Sheila.
Good afternoon, Ayya. I really appreciate you adding the translation around death. In December, I lost my nephew just a few days before he was 40 years old. And I am 69, and this is the first time in my life I've experienced such a deep, poignant loss. And thanks to my practice and all of the Dhamma I was able and have reflected on knowing that, and with all of the experience of death among all of us, the last thing that I feel I could even move into at any point in the future in my life is quarreling and arguing. And the idea that the beauty and grief and sadness of death is the thing that we all have in common at some point. And that alone could be the basis for changing our relationships with each other, whether we know each other, whether we know someone or not. And so you pointing that out was kind of an affirmation, but it was really my take home message around just how I am with others, whether in the Sangha or outside of the Sangha. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful observation and a learning. It's lovely that you're able to share your experience with us on that. So this section is about overcoming gross defilements. And then the subsequent section is getting into overcoming the more subtle problems that can still disturb somebody who is already virtuous and who but still has some struggles left before they're able to come to the goal. Richard, did you have something to add at this moment?
Yes, that Pali word, yama amase,
Yes.
it kind of means like you're kind of touching upon the idea of death. So if you really are touching upon the idea of death, like you're thinking, like maybe you just got diagnosed, okay, I have terminal cancer or something, you're going to forget. So that's going to be your main focus, your concentration, everything, right? So any little thing or something that's like, oh, who cares about that? Look at what I'm facing. You know what I mean? So I think what Buddha's trying to say there is, instilling, hey, look at what you're facing. Why are you worried about every little thing like this? Focus on that which is important. In other words, overcoming death, which is what you do by becoming an arahant, right? So, anyway, I just wanted to add that to what you said.
Okay. Dilshan.
Yeah, may the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Thank you, Ayya. This sutta is so fascinating that, it talks about the association of virtuous friends, noble friends, right? So I immediately remembered Imina Punya Kammena Mame Bala Samagamo Satan Samagamo Hotu Yava Nibbana Pattiya. So we all know what that means. I am someone who's looking for noble association, so I am thankful to you all. You are my Kalyana Mitras, my noble association who preaches Dhamma, who shows the way to Nibbana, without whom I will not be able to find a way to listen to Dhamma to begin with, then put that into practice. Then once again, I can talk about the steps that Buddha introduced to those who want to become the noble ones. Kalyana Mitra Sevaniya, which means noble association.
Yes.
Then listening to Dharma, Sadharma Savaniya, which means listening to Dharma from the Kalyana Mitras. Then Yoniso Manasikara, constantly, revising the Dhamma that you learn from your Kalyana Mitras. Dhamma Dhamma Pratipada. Those are the 4 steps without which you cannot attain Nibbana. So ever so thankful to you for being our teachers, for being our noble friends, and I'm sure everybody present here has accrued immense amount of virtues, and also merits to have noble association. So just wanted to share that sentiment with you. Thank you so much.
The verse that Dilshan recited means, by the power of these merits, may I not associate with fools or with childish people, and may I always associate with the wise. And that verse always touches me in a very poignant way in realizing how much dukkha there would be for someone who, because of circumstance, is put in dependency on a senior person who is a fool. If there's like a child and if the parents are very foolish, what a suffering it will be for that child in growing up. Or if you're an employee and your boss is a rascal, how much suffering you might have from that. Or if you're a religious seeker and you fall under somebody who's, pretending to be a guru, but actually they're not really wise and are not really good, how much suffering can come from that. And then in the contrast, what a wonderful blessing it is, and how we should really be so grateful and not take it for granted if we have a chance to have a Kalyana Mita, a good friend who is someone who's virtuous, who's on the right path, and who's making the right efforts. So yes, that's all very true. We can go back to the sutta. Are you happy to continue reading?
I guess so. Maybe we can go through. Okay, we'll go through maybe this one a little bit quickly till we get to. Okay. So then, having uttered these stanzas while standing, the Blessed One went to the village of Balakhalonakara. On that occasion, the Venerable Bhagu was living at the village of Balakhalonakara. When the Venerable Bhaga saw the Blessed One coming in a distance, he prepared a seat and set out water for the washing the feet. The Blessed One sat down on a seat made ready and washed his feet. The Venerable Bhagu paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. And the Blessed One said to him, I hope you are keeping well, Bhikkhu. I hope you are comfortable. I hope you are not having any trouble getting alms food. I am keeping well, Blessed One. I am comfortable. I am not having any trouble getting alms food. Then the Blessed One instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged the Venerable Bhagu with a talk on the Dhamma, after which he rose from the seat and went to the Eastern Bamboo Park. So this is really quite wonderful that the Buddha is concerned about the Bhagu's well-being, and not only in the physical, but also the spiritual well-being by giving Dhamma talk. Then the Blessed One, okay, now at that occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha.
Stop here.
Oh, do you want to stop? Okay, stop.
I want to emphasize
Yeah.
2 things. First of all, to give you the context about this Bhagu, he was from a noble family. He renounced the world together with Anuruddha and Kimbala. These are the other 2 monks, 2 of the other monks in the story. But then he had an event that made him get spiritual urgency. One day he fell. He had an accidental fall while he was leaving his cell to go for walking meditation, and he gained the urgency, practiced with sincerity, and one his enlightenment. So he's practicing in solitude all by himself, and the Buddha is praising him there. The other thing I wanted to emphasize here, share screen. This is what one should do in giving a Dhamma talk, or what you should look for. The Buddha educated, encouraged, fired up, and inspired Bhagavad with his Dhamma talk. He gave him, helped him to see, helped him to be aroused with that urgency, and then helped him to be have a sharp, acute mind, being fired up to being focused, and then helped him to get this inspiration, this joy, and this uplift. And so these are some of the wonderful, wholesome factors that we could look to for those who are trying to enter into a longer retreat or take meditation. That could be like a checklist, you know. So have I understood the Dhamma? Have I aroused a sincere urgency or the desire to practice? Is the mind very attentive, but also have I got that factor of joy, that uplifting factor? So just point that out there. You could continue.
Okay. Now on that occasion, okay, so he went to the Eastern Bamboo Park. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Nandiya, and the Venerable Kimbila were living at the Eastern Bamboo Park. The park keeper saw the Blessed One coming in a distance and told him, "Do not enter this park, recluse. There are 3 clansmen here seeking their own good. Do not disturb them." It's another interesting thing, that the Buddha is not recognizable as something spectacular. Then Venerable Anuruddha heard the park keeper speaking to the Blessed One and told him, "Friend, park keeper, do not keep the Blessed One out. It is our teacher, the Blessed One, who has come." Then the Venerable Anuruddha went to the Venerable Nandiya and the Venerable Kimbila and said, "Come out, Venerable Sirs, come out. Our teacher, the Blessed One, has come." Then all 3 went to meet the Blessed One. One took his bowl, an outer robe, one prepared a seat, and one set out water for washing the feet. The Blessed One sat down on the seat made ready and washed his feet. Then the 3 venerables paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. And the Blessed One said to them, "I hope you are keeping well, Anuruddha. I hope you are keeping comfortable. I hope you are not having trouble getting alms food." So in the Pali, the Anuruddha is plural, a plural form. So he's addressing all 3 of the bhikkhus,
Right.
and not just Venerable Anuruddha. And then he asked the same question that he asked Bhagu. He's concerned about their well-being. Are they getting enough food? Are they comfortable? And then they reply, "We are keeping well, Blessed One. We are comfortable, and we are not having any trouble getting alms food." I hope, Anuruddha, that you are all living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. So after coming from Kosambi, he's wondering how well they're getting along. I hope, surely, Venerable Sir, we are living in concord. We are with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. But, Anuruddha, how do you live thus? Venerable Sir, as to that, I think thus, it is a gain for me. It is a great gain for me that I am living with such companions in the holy life. I maintain bodily acts of loving kindness towards these venerable ones, both openly and privately. I maintain verbal acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I consider, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do. We are different in body, Venerable Sir, but one in mind.
I can extend this advice. Oh, first of all, treating all the others with kindness in the acts of the mind, acts of the body, acts of speech is definitely a way to overcome grudges and quarrels. Even if you're having trouble dispelling a grudge and you force yourself to think kindly thoughts and to say kind things and to do kind things, that has a powerful effect on wiping out the grudge. There's a story that I think Joseph Goldstein used to tell about a spiritual teacher. A couple was quarreling and they went for marital counseling. And the teacher spoke to the husband and said, just whatever your wife wants to do, go along with it. Go along with your wife. And then he spoke to the woman and said, whatever your husband wants to do, just go along with him. And so by both parties making the effort to go along, we can see this actually so beautifully in our community, especially when people are really striving for harmony, that there's something, Ayya Suvijjana wants to start her formal retreat tomorrow, but it's not convenient for us to take her out to the Hermitage to start her meditation until Thursday. And I could see Ayya Suvijjana's mind was working, and at first, I could see we also said, no, I want to go on Monday. I want to go on Monday. And then the other angel come in and said, well, that's all right. For the sake of harmony, I'm happy to go on Thursday. And so this is just the thing that it's such a fantastic gift that one can give to one's colleagues to just to give in and to go along with what's good for others. You can go on and finish with this section about how these monks are harmonious.
They're different in body and one in mind. The Venerable Nandiya and the Venerable Pingala each spoke likewise, adding, that is how, Venerable Sir, we are living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. I love this mutual appreciation. It's very nice. Good, Anuruddha. I hope that you all abide diligent, ardent, and resolute Surely, Venerable Sir, we abide diligent, ardent, resolute. But Anuruddha, how do you abide thus? The Venerable Sir, as to that, whichever of us returns first from the village with alms food, prepares the seat, sets out the water for drinking and for washing, puts the refuge bucket in its place. Whichever of us returns last, eats any leftover food left over if he wishes, otherwise he throws it away where there is no greenery or drops it into water where there is no life. He puts away the seeds and the water for drinking and washing. He puts away the refuge bucket after washing it. He sweeps out the refractories. Whoever notices that the pots of water for drinking, washing, or latrine are low or empty, takes care of them. If they are too heavy for him, he calls someone else by a signal of the hand, and they remove it by joining hands. But because of this, we do not break out into speech. But every 5 days we sit together all night discussing the Dhamma. That is how we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute.
Up here for a second. So we remember that the Buddha did not recommend that the monks should just stay together for many months or years without any speech at all. He said that a group of animals could live together without speaking, but speaking about the Dhamma is part of our practice. The idea of having a Dhamma discussion once every 5 days and then having silence on the other time. This is almost like getting a concept about how it should be organized when one is on a meditation retreat, or even how it should be organized when one is forming a monastic community or a religious community, to have certain portions of the time to be in silence and other portions of the time to be dedicated to speaking about the Dhamma, but not wanting to spend very much time talking about chores or it's there's a whole lot of things that we're not supposed to talk about, like we're not supposed to talk about armies and politics and
Women.
Yeah.
Streets.
and talk of the well. We're not supposed to be involved in gossip, even talking about the weather or different prognostications, the different signs. Like if you see a lucky sign, that's not the type of thing that we need to talk about. In our community, we talk about the weather just for 1 minute each day, because we've got to say, like, if there's going to be a frost, then the Bodhi tree has to come inside. If it's going to be warmer, the Bodhi tree has to go outside. If there's going to be a big storm, we have to make sure that the outside things are put away and safe. But then there's a limitation on how much time is spent on those ordinary mundane things, and definitely a definite time to speak about the Dhamma.
Good, Anuruddha. But while you abide thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, have you attained any superhuman states? That's Uttara Manusa, a distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones, a comfortable abiding. So talking about higher
Uttara Manusa Dhamma can include the attaining of the four jhanas or the four immaterial meditations or the Nirodha Samapatti, or it can also include it, experiencing the breakthrough to the different levels of enlightenment, the path and fruit. So that's what's being pointed out here. And we can see that this is really what the last part of the sutta is going to be getting into.
Venerable Sir, as we abide here, diligent, ardent, and resolute, we perceive both light and a vision of forms.
Yeah.
Soon after, the light and vision of forms disappears, but we have not discovered a cause for that. Do you have the note
Okay.
there?
Number 1189.
Yep.
It appears that the present statement continues differently from Majjhima Nikaya number 31. It may explain light or obhasa as the preliminary light, which he glosses as the light produced by the access to jhana. MT adds that one who gains the fourth jhana develops the light kasina as the preliminary to arousing the divine eye. The vision of forms, dasanam rupanam, is the seeing of forms with the divine eye. Venerable Anuruddha was later declared by the Buddha to be the foremost disciple in the exercise of the divine eye. Nimitam pakivitabang, you should penetrate that sign.
Did you hear Seminary Satima reading that note? So I've seen the vision of signs explained as one of the superhuman, one of the abhinyas, one of the superhuman attainments. And in particularly, it's seeing how beings are reborn according to their karma. And this was a power that Anuruddha had. It's very interesting. There's another very similar, almost parallel to this sutta elsewhere, where Anuruddha and the other bhikkhus already are fully enlightened arhats. But in this case, they're not yet fully enlightened. And he's apparently has the aptitude for these abhinyas, these superhuman attainments, but they're not stabilized. They come and go. And so he's then trying to learn how to both stabilize the light nimitta. That's obhasa is the light. And then the dasana rupa is the vision of forms. So the obhasa could be the sign of meditation at different levels. And the vision of forms is that ability to see how beings are born according to their karma. Now we can go on.
Yeah, Ajahn Brahm says that the nimitta, the prior to entering jhana, the light, and then also the form could be attributed to the nimitta. But Bhante Sujato was saying that what you were saying about preliminary light before entering the jhanas, and then the form could be the supernormal powers, the divine eye, seeing devas and past life and things like that.
Right.
So we continue on. So then the Lord Buddha responds that to their dilemma, you should discover the cause for that.
Penetrate
You should penetrate.
that sign.
You should penetrate that sign. That's what Ajahn Brahm was emphasizing to penetrate that sign. That can be either cause or sign. So you should understand what's going on or why that's happening. Penetrate the meaning of it or penetrate the sign. So he's saying that you should discover what's going on. Before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, I too perceived both light and a vision of forms. Soon after the light and the vision of forms disappeared, I thought, what is the cause and condition? Why the light and visions of forms have disappeared? Then I considered thus. Doubt arose in me, and because of the doubt, my concentration, the samadhi, fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. I shall so act that doubt will not arise in me again. So when he understood the cause of the light and visions of forms to disappear, he made a determination that that wouldn't happen.
This second section is going to give 11 different Upakkilesas. I read that the commentary tries to group them up into the 5 hindrances, as if maybe this was like an earlier version before they worked out the standard list of the 5 hindrances. To my reading, it's equally as useful as just to take it as it is. In this sutta, this is addressing people who are very good, strong, powerful meditators who've got a lot of paramis, who've got a lot of both the virtuous mind, the kindness, the spiritual urgency, and making the effort. And these are 11 weird things that could happen to you when you're entering into samadhi, and then how to cope with them so that you don't lose the samadhi when those things arise. So doubt is vicikiccha, and that's typically explained as doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm trying to find out where I left off.
okay.
Okay, doubt 17.
This one?
As Anuruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. I perceived both light and vision of forms. Soon afterwards, the light and vision of forms disappeared. I thought, what is the cause and condition why the light and vision of forms disappeared? Then I considered inattention arose in me. And because of inattention, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, light and vision of forms disappeared. And then he made a determination not to let neither doubt nor inattention arise again. And do we want to go by each one?
Pause here for a minute. This is manasikara. That's the Pali word here. So we know that yoniso manasikara, that's called wise attention, or the attention that looks deeply into the root of things. But manasikara all by itself doesn't really have such a strong meaning. It simply means the advertence or the attention or what causes the mind to connect with the object. So if you're kind of like in a fog or something, or not paying attention, and you don't connect with that object, or if the divine eye or the obasa, the nimitta of the light arises, and you don't recognize it, so the mind doesn't connect with that. That's the failure of the Manasikara, is just a failure of the knowing mind to connect with the object. That's what's meant there. Dilshan has a hand raised, so let me take Dilshan's question.
May the blessings of the Noble Triple be with you. Thank you, Ayya. Actually, I'm having a great time listening to this sutta because, I'm a big fan of the Arahant Anuruddha because, he was the foremost disciple when it comes to divine powers in the Buddha's, order. So just want to share a small story, after Buddha's passing away, they wanted to conduct the Buddha's cremation, right? So when it came to the moment where they wanted to set fire on Buddha's dead body, it did not ignite. Then everybody was wondering, why isn't igniting? So then all the Arahants, everybody turned to the Arahant Anuruddha to find out why it is not igniting. Then the Venerable the Arahant Anuruddha mentioned that the God's wish is different. They want the Arahant Kashyapa to be present in this occasion. By that time, Arahant Kashyapa was on his way with 500 bhikkhus to attend Buddha's Parinibbana, that funeral. So then everybody waited for the Arahant Kashyapa to arrive, and then only the story is so long, I don't want to take too long, but just wanted to highlight how much appreciation, how much deep respect I have for the Arahant Anuruddha. Thank you so much.
Right. And isn't it wonderful that we don't only know Anuruddha at the peak of his powers and his accomplishment, but we also get a chance to see Anuruddha when he's still a learner, still developing on the path, and see what he had to do to make progress. So if we want to make progress, we should do the things that Anuruddha did.
Exactly. Thank you for bringing that point.
There we go.
Yeah.
Actually, we're looking at the Buddha before his awakening and what he did and
Yes.
what he did, what trouble that
Absolutely,
he
yeah.
had.
Right.
So then he's coaching Anuruddha and Anuruddha's companions. So from his own direct discovery, his own direct working with these Upakkilesas, he was able to make his final breakthrough. So he was abiding diligent. So we were at, so 18.
Sloth and torpor.
Sloth and torpor, or dullness and drowsiness, arose in me. This is another of the classic hindrances. And because of sloth and torpor, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, light and vision of forms disappeared. I shall act that neither doubt nor inattention nor sloth and torpor will arise again. Sometimes I feel like something may be arising in your mind and it seems really kind of dreamy. And it's easy to kind of get more into a dream or dazed state. So just to make a determination to stay alert. As Anuruddha, I was abiding diligent. I considered thus, fear arose in me, and because my fear, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. Suppose a man set out on a journey and murderers leapt out on both sides of him. Then fear would arise in him because of that. So too, fear arose in me. Light and vision of forms disappeared. I considered thus, I shall act so that neither doubt, inattention, sloth, and torpor, nor fear will arise in me again. And people often talk about some kind of terror, fear, when they're getting into some deeper states of meditation. Yeah, and it's just like kind of a startle or a shock, or, and, so I think some of us may have experienced this ourselves. And,
The dictionary says this is not just like anxiety, but it's actual, like being paralyzed with fear. Is what that's being pointed to with this.
oh, the type
With
of
what?
fear that
Yeah.
it's sort of, Baya,
Like freezing.
it's a freezing terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terror,
Hair raising.
hair-raising terror. And, Ajahn Brahm was saying it was something like the fear of the unknown, because you're starting to get into unknown territory in your meditation. And Bhante Sujato said that because the mind is opening up to places that have been kind of buried for a long time.
Right.
And it could be even like past lives. I've heard a lot of, because this is a phenomena that happens with meditators, that this terror comes up. And knowing
Or
it's,
even if you have the divine ayahs coming along, you may see the hell realms.
yeah, so it could, yeah, so just to know this is a kind of a normal, not unusual, not not dangerous. It's just the mind is just going into uncharted territory, or you're just opening up to places. Then, but the way the Lord Buddha repeatedly is saying to deal with it is just making a determination that it won't happen again. So that's interesting. Should I go on, or did
Yes.
you want to? Okay. As Anuruddha, I was abiding diligent. I considered thus, elation arose in me, and because of elation, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. Suppose a man seeking one entrance to a hidden treasure came all at once upon 5 entrances to hidden treasure. Then elation would arise in him because of that. So too, elation rose in me. The light and vision of forms disappeared. I considered thus, I shall so act that neither doubt, nor inattention, nor fear, nor elation will arise in me again. So he's seeing these obstacles are coming, and then he's just making a determination.
So those who are interested in looking up this Pali, Bhikkhu Sujato in this version is Upila, Uppila, but in the dictionary it's Ubbila, Ubbila.
There's different
So
spellings
two
of
different
it.
spellings, but it's referring to that elation upon a discovery of something wonderful. And the 5 doors are to the treasure, signifies
What, the 5 faculties?
uh,
I don't know. Five.
It gives a reference to, Sutta number 5215, where the Buddha described what he meant. Should I read it?
Yes.
Sure.
15. When Venerable Ananda had spoken, the householder Dasama of Antaganagara said to him, Venerable Ananda, just as if a man seeking one entrance to a hidden treasure came all at once upon 11 entrances to a hidden treasure, so too, while I was seeking one door to the deathless, I have come all at once to hear of 11 doors to the deathless. Just as if a man had a house with 11 doors, and when that house caught on fire, he would flee to safety by any one of these 11 doors. So I can flee to safety by any one of these 11 doors to the deathless.
So would
I
that be
think
the
it's different
4?
levels of meditation, and as what I saw it explained as.
So it
So
could-
like from the first jhana, you can leap to safety. From the second jhana, you can leap to safety. From the third jhana, from all the way up to the,
What
so-
is it saying,
but
5?
I'm not quite sure. I couldn't find a reference to why in this list it was 5.
Don't
But
know.
that's what it's referring to as 5 kinds of stages of meditation from whence one can have the possibility to find an exit to leap to safety.
But they're finding treasure.
Yeah. So if you were trapped in a burning house and you found the escape hatch or the escape door, how would you feel when you see that exit?
But
That's what that would be.
This is finding treasure, though.
Yes, right.
They found treasure, hidden treasure.
Mhm.
And I think it's similar, it's a flip side of the fear. Instead of like it's what that's kind of like scary stuff inside or something that's very foreign to us. This is something realizing, wow, I'm onto something here. I'm getting close to jhana or something like that. And then we get too excited and it falls away. As Anuruddha, I was abiding diligent. I considered thus inertia arose in me, and because of inertia, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. I shall so act that neither doubt, nor inattention, nor elation, nor inertia will arise in me again. There's ellipsis here, but
Is there a note about inertia?
I don't see a note about inertia.
So the Pali is dukkula, and Manu Sujato translated as discomfort. And the dictionary has it described as like an evil state. So it may be that this is a word that dukkula is in the dictionary given as a wicked or lewd state. So it's just, we could say a bad mind. At least we know it means that much. Go
So
ahead.
we should keep going. Okay, so then, it's abiding diligently. And as they're abiding diligently, I considered this excess energy arose in me. And because of excess energy, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. Suppose a man were to grip a quail tightly with both hands. It would die then and there. So too, an excess energy arose in me. The light and vision of forms disappeared. I considered thus, I shall so act that neither doubt, nor inattention, nor inertia, nor excess energy will arise in me again. So that's a simile we've heard before with the quail. You don't want to grip it too tightly. And then as I was abiding diligent, I considered thus deficiency of energy arose in me. And because of deficiency in energy, my samadhi fell away. When my samadhi fell away, the light and vision of forms disappeared. Suppose a man were to grip a quail loosely, it would fly out of his hand. So too, a deficiency of energy arose in me. The light and vision of forms disappeared. I considered thus, I shall act in that neither doubt nor inattention nor excess energy nor deficiency of energy will arise in me again. So it's not pushing too hard or getting too lax with our energy.
I think I may go and then summarize a little bit because we're coming to the time. So it's the same pattern that's following. The next factor is called longing arose. Abijja That's covetousness. So it's a covetousness for meditation, which many people have described, like sometimes just through dumb luck when you meditate like you're a beginner and you have a great meditation experience, and then you have a vidya for that experience, and you go for a long time and you can't get it again as long as you covet it. And so then the next factor is perceptions of diversity. Do you have any comment about that factor?
There's a paraphrase.
Yes.
While I was attending to a single type of form, longing arose, thinking, I will attend to different kinds of forms. Sometimes I directed my attention towards the heavenly world, sometimes towards the human world. As I attended to different kinds of forms, perception of diversity arose in me.
Okay. So again, all this is particularly giving the training for one who has the ability of seeing how beings are born according to their karma. And so they may have the ability to see in the different realms of existence. And in that case, the diversity of the different realms, even if it's not having a craving for birth in those realms, just the perception of the diverse realms is something that disturbs the meditation. And then the next one is excessive concentration on forms, causing the immersion to fall away. And then he's doing this as a cumulative practice. So he's practicing in a way that he knows that doubt is a corruption, he gives it up. He knows about the loss of focus, dullness and drowsiness, terror, excitement, discomfort, excess energy, overly lax energy, longing, perception of diversity, or excessive concentration on forms. This, again, like the forms, the vision of forms, that's the vision of the being able to see the realms of rebirth. And so then being too much locked in on that. This is why some very good meditation teachers recommend don't think about concentration as being that you've grabbed onto an object and you're holding on tightly to an object in order to have the mind not be wandering, because that very act of that trying to hold tightly to an object is the opposite of the type of energy that you want. Instead, you want the mind to be very relaxed, still, and receptive, so that then the object is able to flood in and fill the mind until it's completely pervaded. So then the Buddha is saying, while meditating, diligent, keen, resolute, I perceived light but did not see forms, or I saw forms and did not see light. This went on the whole night, the whole day, even the whole night and day. I thought, what's the cause of this? And it occurred to me, when I don't focus on the foundation of forms, but focus on the foundation of light, then I perceive light and do not see forms. When I don't focus on the foundation of light, but focus on the foundation of forms, then I see forms but do not perceive light. So here one is gaining the facility of being able to direct the mind and make the mind incline where you're choosing for the mind to incline, and then directing the mind, having the ability not to be the victim of the mind, but to be able to direct the mind. This is just what we want when we come to the very end. And so then there's the contrast of the limited light and limited forms, are the boundless light and boundless forms. We associate the boundless meditation with the Brahma Viharas. Recently, I've started to thinking that there's the verse that the Arahant should dwell cultivating chaga, which is described as relinquishment or beneficence. So one who has completely relinquished any concept of self then has got no limitation whatsoever, and they have the natural capacity for the boundless kindness and compassion and joy. So the qualities gain that boundless quality when the limitation of any conceiving about the self has become disappeared. So then that's just my own idea. It's not something that I've heard from an expert. Then he says, it occurred to me, when my immersion, that's my samadhi, is limited, then my vision is limited. And with limited vision, I perceive limited light and see limited forms. But when my immersion is limitless, then my vision is limitless. With the limitless vision, I perceive limitless light and see limitless form. This goes on for the whole night, the whole day, even the whole night and day. And then after understanding that all these factors are corruptions of the mind, they're all given up. Then I thought, I've given up my mental corruptions. Now let me develop immersion or samadhi in 3 ways. And this is part of the description of jhana. They develop immersion with placing the mind and keeping it connected. That's vitakka, vichara. I want to go to a different a description that gives us in the table form. First, with the initial application and sustained application, that's the first jhana. Second, without the initial application, but with sustained application only, that's the second jhana in the Abhidhamma format. That's not in the format of the suttas. You don't see that listed so much as a separate step, but in the Abhidhamma you do.
It appears some places,
And
but not in the description of 4 jhanas.
and not in the description of the 4 jhanas. So this is where, in the descriptions like this, is how the Abhidhamma idea came across. And then without initial application and sustained application, that's without applied thought and sustained thought. Then with zest, that's PET. And then without PET. And then with pleasure, that's sukha, or accompanied by pleasure, that's sukha. And then accompanied by equanimity. When Anuruddha, I had cultivated the samadhi with the factors in that order. Then the knowledge and vision arose in me. Unshakable is my liberation. This is my last birth. There's no more rebirth here for me. The Blessed One said this. Satisfied, the Venerable Anuruddha rejoiced in the Blessed One's words.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I invite
So it's
questions about the. I know we're just over the time. We're already a few minutes over the time. Do you have a closing comment?
closing comment. Yeah, so the Lord Buddha has described what difficulties he's had and how he overcame them and how he learned how to direct his mind. And it's really beautiful that he considered what was the cause and then he made a strong determination to abandon the cause. And he overcame it and became awake.
Sheila,
Thank you, Ayya. This was a beautiful sutta. I just have one quick question. Would the treasures be a reference to samadhi, attaining and maintaining samadhi and immersion? Would that be the treasure?
could be.
It seems likely that that's what
Yeah.
they're referring to. Could be, what occurred to me was even access, concentration, and the 4 jhanas, or it could be.
It could be the 5 jhanas in that formula.
5 jhanas in the formula. That's true. That's very true. And one thing that Bhante Sujato said was about this, when the vitaka is absent, then the mind is much more stable. And some people confuse that for the 2nd jhana. It's classically considered the 2nd jhana, because the mind doesn't have that wobble of the vitaka continually making the contact. It's a lot more stable.
Actually, Bhikkhu Bodhi says the doors to the deathless that are found in Majjhima Nikaya 215 are the 4 jhanas,
Yeah.
the 4 Brahma Viharas, and the 3 immaterial attainments. So those are the treasures.
Yeah, so we're just trying to figure it with the 5 are when they
Yeah.
talk about 5 treasures. But
I'm guessing that in this sutta, since it speaks of 5 jhanas, 5 stages of jhana, 5 stages of samadhi, that we could tie it to that.
yeah, could
I'll call in Richard.
Thank you. I know it's late. I'll try to be quick. This last section where Buddha says, through this practice, he attained enlightenment. You'll find that in many suttas about slightly different variations of practice. And, because he says, he starts out, he says, when I was still just a bodhisattva, then I discovered all these things and it led to my enlightenment. And I think when the Buddha adds this, just my personal opinion, to these type of things, except for in probably one specific case where it really did lead to his enlightenment, I think he's just trying to reassure them that there's nothing wrong with studying this right now and going in this direction. I too did this, and eventually I became enlightened. So there's nothing to fear here. It's along the same lines that I went as well. Anyways, that's just my opinion. But if someone wanted to, they can search through all the suttas and find all these different cases and piece them together, and you'll probably see that it's a combination of all these different factors and experiences that he went through that led to his final realization. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, that's a good point, that he's emphasizing one aspect for, this group of people, and then for somebody else, he's describing a maybe a bigger picture, emphasizing other things. But so it does appear in a number of places that this is before his awakening, and this is what he did, and then he woke up. But it's all before he enters the jhanas. That's a consistent thing, the 4 or 5, but depending on how he divides it up.
You also say that Maharada, the Yaka, who asked him about the eight, wonderful things about the ocean, he described 37.
Oh, the treasures, yes.
37.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah,
Well, we might think on another occasion about the different variety of descriptions of the practices that were leading to the Buddha's awakening, and to what degree they're all just different descriptions of the same process. So perhaps if that's enough, since we've gone over the time, we can pause here and give our closing homage to the Triple Gem.
thank you all for your kind attention.
Yes.
Ayya.